So finally arrived at Beebop Donut. My friend is showcasing his art here today. What I really like about Calgary art is like, look at this electricity box right here. Or I could be wrong, I don't know what it is to be exact. Rather than just leaving it black and gray and like, you know, they chose to add some art into it, which is amazing. Now I'm gonna see what's up. Hopefully Harvey's there and I'm gonna interview him. I'm chilling here at the top of a Beebop donut. You know, gonna look around, see, got some donuts. Look how cute this box is. Big shout out to Beebop. Peach mango drink over there. No. That's Harvey's logo right there. And yeah, let's check out some of the pieces that he has here for us today. Look at this piece. It's like gigantic piece. Don't see the problem, I hear it often. Pain on my melanin making me glow. I wait all like this, why you all like this? Got some merch there. Might check them out later. Got Louis Caesar, the Black Greek God, with HarveyisDead. You know? Wagwan.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, yo, I totally forgot about that fucking bottle. She brought it.
Yo, she is the fucking... We got Hayden from Vintage Plug YYC. Just had a successful event yesterday at Whip Collective. Wow. We're chilling here at Kensington. This is Kensington area, right? No. Mission. My fault.
This one is so, like, the crowd in the dumpster is so
Yeah, I think it's the smoke.
Yeah. I don't know if they were firing, but like, it looks like it.
Harvey?
Hello, how's it going?
You made this, right?
Like this piece?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I silk screened it. There's only one of these, and this is the only one.
The only one?
Yeah, I made it. When I was like trying to learn how to use silk screen, this was my first prototype.
Weird.
Yeah, today right here we have, actually tomorrow is the last day of the show, but for the past week and a half, this gallery has been here. This is a culmination of all the works that I've been doing since the COVID lockdowns and the protest that's been going on here in Calgary and also like all over the world, especially in North America. And like it's kind of like the whole show was kind of focusing mostly on to like the current state of politics and like also what's going on back home in the Philippines where I came from, like with the president there being a dictator, like doing all he can to like, you know, suppress media, suppress like information, and also like lie, like the government there is like very, you can't trust them. You know?
Yeah, it's very gang-like. Like the police there, like I wouldn't. They have like this real struggle with power. You know, like being here in Canada and like being like away from all of that like type of energy. Like I feel like I'm privileged enough and like using that privilege to like speak about that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that was kind of the goal of this whole exhibition was to like you know, being like us having the right, the freedom of speech, that like, you know, it's a privilege for us like living in here to have that, and like I feel like we should exercise it as much as possible, because like if you don't, they'll take it away. And you know, like it's, and like in the Philippines, like they just passed this anti-terror bill law that is like specifically targeting like people who are, you know, trying to protest against the government. And like the government has been like, you know, and the government has been trying to stop that from the inception of it. So like they like even posting about it and even like talking about it can get you to jail, you know what I mean? Like being a person who lives in North America and who posts a lot against the government in the Philippines, it's like it's like I go home there, like, you know, and hopefully we don't get arrested, because, like, you know, I know a friend of mine, like, they're doing exactly what they're doing in China. In China, where, like, you can't, if you post anything against the government, you can get arrested. A friend of mine was in the airport in Beijing, and that happens to her. Like, literally just posted something against the Communist Party, and like immediately she got like arrested. So it's just like, it's not like this whole controlled thing is, like, you know, we don't have it here yet, but, like, you know, it's not that far away.
It's not that far away. It's like, it's bound to happen, like, especially
in Alberta.
Yeah.
With Jason Kenney passing, like, Bill 1, and, like, passing all these bills where, like, it's illegal to protest in certain areas. Well, that's the point of protesting, is to, like, you know, get attention. And, like, if you can only do that in certain area where, like, you're not, you know, disrupting anything, then what's the point of a protest, you know?
You're pretty much like, oh, like, hiding it in a way that's not hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like, oh, like, you can, like, protest over here in this, like, area where, like, not a lot of people will go to.
See it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, that, what's the point of that? You know what I mean? Like, that's like, it's giving you the idea that you have freedom to say something, but, like, not really, you know?
And you know what's crazy? Like, not a lot of people are aware of that, you know? Like, just bringing awareness to it is just, like, more than enough, right? Like,
exactly.
You know, like, it's amazing that you're doing it through art, doing it, like, speaking, like, starting, like, Katipunan, like, that group chat, like, that we're part of, like, seeing all the posts that you share. It's just amazing. Like, you know, you're truly passionate about the country, like
there's two different kinds of patriots in the Philippines. I feel there's, like, those kinds that, like, believe Duterte, and, like, they think that Duterte is making the country great again, and, like, where's that, like, sound familiar? You know what I mean? You look down south, Trump is doing the same exact thing. They think that he's making the country better, but on the contrary, he's making it worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, they can literally shoot you and then, you know, like, plant some
evidence,
some type of evidence, so, like, they will protect the police.
Yeah,
like, you know,
and
like,
the police are doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When one of my paintings here was very focused towards, like, you know, what's going on back home with the drug war. You know, like for the past, like, 5-6 years since the president has been in, about, like, 20,000 people have been murdered in the Philippines, including women and children, and, like, they're calling them as collateral damage. Every time they kill somebody, they always, like, have this, like, they fought back, which is just, like, you know, at the end of the day, like, that's such a cheap fucking excuse to murder people. And, like, you know,
it's just like, you know, like, that feeling of death will make us squirm and, like, make us, like, fight back, you know? Like, it's like, police, in my mind, should have this, like, air of, like, protection around them, like,
yeah,
like,
and it's hard to have, like, this, like, non-separate judicial system too, that, like, cops are supposed to police themselves. It's, like, ridiculous. They will never police themselves. They'll do it for show, but they never will, you know what I mean? And it's just, like, that's why, like, I feel like separation of power between, like, you know, who like, charges the police, because, like, you know, it's them policing themselves, and it's, like, that never works out, you know what I mean?
You know, like with a lot of things happening, like the age of information, like, you know, just flowing through, like, there's so much negativity, but, like, in our regular lives, it's just like, you know, like, look at this, like, it's a positive moment right now, it's a positive experience, right? Like, we're here, we're living,
we're fighting for it, you know, we're fighting to have this voice, because, like, you know, at the end of the day, like I had a show here, I had an opening, and, like, you know, people couldn't take the time to listen, and they had to shut us down. They shut our second opening down for, like, various reasons that they found. Like, first off, like, because of the sound, we were loud at 4 p.m. when we were like sound checking. So it's like, I feel like this voice that we have, like, we continuously is fighting for it. We're not this, like, freedom that we have is not just, like, here to stay. Like, people are gonna try to silence you all you want, and, like, Jae Sterling right now is doing doing a mural in Chinatown, and like for Black Lives Matter. And I think like what the whole art is about John Ware, which is he's a black cowboy that lived through in Calgary, and like there were many people who were anti Black Lives Matter mural who are like going to that place and like causing trouble. Like Rebel News went there and like tried to like, you know, spin the story as like Chinese people don't want Black Lives Matter mural in Chinatown, which is just like what they're trying to divide the minority people, like, and it's just like, it's like you can see through them, you know what I mean? You can see like their tactics of how they're trying to play it, and it's fucked up, you know what I mean? And like, you know, it's fucked. That's all I'm gonna say is it's fucked. And like, you know, we gotta do our best to like show support and solidarity and all of these artists, especially like black artists and like, you know, and like indigenous artists in Calgary and beyond. So this is all the pieces that is in the show. We can start over here. This piece over here was a piece that was made, like I made it during the Black Lives Matter protest in Calgary after, and it was kind of the most detailed work I've done. This woman right here represents Inang Bayan, which is like, you know, in Tagalog is like the personification of the motherland, the Philippines. And like I feel like in all of the depictions of like the motherland, Inang Bayan, she's always a submissive woman, and I like that perception of Filipinos being submissive is like over. You know, I'm done with it. Like I'm over it, and then that's why I put like she has a AK-47. You know, like what's more non-submissive than a strong woman with a weapon? You know. And this is this skull right here is holding the justice, like the scale of justice, which is like, you know, with what's going on right now and even back home, like that justice is blind, you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't care about the people that is not, you know, it's not in the system. And like I feel like with him, the depiction of him like having his eyes covered while like his third eye is open is kind of like, you know, symbolism. And so like, you know, like the justice system knows what's going on and it just chooses to not act.
It's kind of cool that you depict it as like skeleton is like, because like skeletons usually like depict death. Mm-hmm. It's like, could it be like it's the death of justice at the same time? Yeah,
exactly. And then over here is this piece is called The Allegory of the Cave. And this is a theory that put forward by Plato back, you know, when Plato was alive. The story goes that, you know, like, it goes like this. Like, imagine you as a person, you were, like, in a cave. And you were, like, chained in the cave. And you can only look this way. And you can only see the shadows that is coming out from the cave. And so, like, you think that, like, that shadow is real. And then so like there was in Plato's story there were like 3 people who was chained in the cave, and then so like one of them like predicts what shadow is coming in, and like they think that they know what's going on because like they can predict the shadows. But then like in the story, one of them got out and like was so confused and went out of the cave and saw the real world. He saw that like the sun is actually what's making the shadow, and then he realized that the reality that he knew all along was all a fallacy. And he went back to the cave and he told the people the truth, and the people was mad at him, and they told him to not let them out, and like they would kill him if they set them all free. And it was kind of like, you know, for me, like this is kind of with the age of misinformation and the spread of fake news, political bots, trolls, and cyborgs could create like the simulation and of a climate of opinions, and which was more insidious and more enveloping than like the old broadcast media, as it wormed into its its way into the feeds of your phone, and you don't even know sometimes if like you're talking to your friend or you're talking to a robot, you know, and that creates this like this simulation that like you're having an actual conversation, but in fact you're just talking to a Russian bot that Trump paid for, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's bullshit.
Yeah, well, to point out, I really like that you painted like someone like who seems to be like an elite Greek person.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
and then this guy's empty because at the end of the day, there's like, you know, all that he believes is all a fucking lie at the end of the day.
yeah, like why did you choose the colors that you chose for this piece?
For me, like the colors kind of represent more of just like the real world. Like you see over here, like his background is so colorful, like the way our world is, and then you look at over here and it's all like dark and gray and like nothing, just because like, you know, it's just all a fallacy. It's like, it's kind of also like the Matrix. Like the allegory of the cave is kind of also like a direct what do you call it? A direct like story that like, you know, you can relate to towards like the Matrix, of just like in the Matrix, like I feel like everybody would watch Matrix, and like the story goes that like, you know, the real world is not how it seems to be, you know what I mean? We're all living in the fucking simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, could this be like
and that's why I kind of have like all these like also like very animatronic like you know, like circuit board stuff, because I wanted to not also, because you know this story is like as old as times, it's as old as Plato, and I wanted to have that like futuristic spin on it, that like, you know, yeah,
really like that.
yeah. And then this piece over here is called Judith and Holofernes, and Judith and Holofernes is a really classic tale in the Bible. And a lot of people since the Renaissance have been painting and depicting that scene. But this scene is about the story is behind Judith and Holofernes, who comes from the Bible, the Deuteronomical book of Judith. The Bible tells us that the king of Nineveh, Nebuchadnezzar, sent his general Holofernes to subdue his enemy, the Jews. The Jews are besieged in Bethula and rapidly lose all hope of victory. Famine further undermines their courage, and they begin to consider surrender. Judith was a strikingly beautiful widow. She overhears the plan for surrender and decides to deliver the city. She creeps into the Assyrian camp and seduces Holofernes. With her captivating beauty, she waited until Holofernes was thoroughly drunk and cut off his head. I think, and then she returned to her people victoriously, and holding up the severed head as a trophy. The Jews regain their courage, and then the Assyrian camp and drive the enemy away. I feel like what really inspired me the most with this story is just that courage, that story of courage and like, you know, fearlessness that like, you know, Judith had. Like, you know what I mean? Like it takes one person to like make a lot of people feel alive and like feel courage, and like, you know, and I feel like that's what really inspired me to make this painting.
Do you, like whenever you make a painting, do you do a research on a piece that you want to do first, or like you kind of just like free flow?
I usually go by like references. Like, you know, I as a kid I've been really like, I was really into mythologies and just storytelling, and like I feel like some of the stories that like I'm actually showing right now are like stories that's like been in my childhood, and I've been like, you know, reading about it since I was a kid, and like I feel like now is just like the time that I'm able to like depict my own version of them, you know? Like for example, this piece right over here is a classic story of the creation myth in the Philippines, and this story was actually taught in kindergarten in the Philippines. Like I was born in the Philippines. I moved to Canada 7 years ago, and I feel like as a person who came through from a third world country, it's like our history isn't really like, you know, talked about as much, just because it's like deemed as like, you know, not important. Yeah, no, I was saying that this piece over here was actually a classic story of the creation myth in the Philippines. I remember as a kid, like they give us like like the creation story. Being raised Catholic, the story usually goes with like Adam and Eve, and the story of how we came about through the Christian perspective. But then with my exploration of trying to find more about my culture, I came across this story, and like this story is like is a story about how the first Filipinos came about. The story goes that when the world first began, there was no land. There was only the ocean, run by the goddess of the sea, Amansinaya, and Bathala, the creator, and who lives in the sky. And between them flew a giant, beautiful deity bird named Amihan. One day Amihan, which had nowhere to go, land and rest, grew tired of flying about, and in frustration stirred up the sky in a quarrel against the sea. Bathala threw rain, thunder, and lightning that reached Amansinaya, who in turn rose up and hurled waves and hurricanes that reached the sky. In order to restrain its fury, Bathala showered a multitude of massive boulders down upon the sea, which became the islands known and formed as the Philippines. These islands prevented the waters from rising anymore, instead causing them to flow back and forth, thereby creating the tides. Afterwards, Bathala then ordered Amihan to light on one of the newly formed islands and build her nest, and to leave Amansinaya and Bathala in peace. Where the islands were formed sprout a tree so tall and so green. One day, while the tree was floating around against the sea, it struck the feet of the bird, Amihan, and shocked, hurt, and angered the bird, furiously pecked at the tree until it split in half. And then out one section came a golden bronze colored man named Malakas, which means strong one in Tagalog. And from the other half came a similarly hued woman named Maganda, which means a beautiful one in Tagalog as well. And then Malakas and Maganda had many children, and from them eventually came all the different races of people. And yeah, this was kind of like the depiction of that story. I called it Noli Me Tangere, and I titled it based off a novel by a Filipino political activist and author, Jose Rizal, published in 1887. Like the novel is written in Spanish, but it's kind of a sweeping and passionate unmasking of the brutality and corruption of the Spanish rule in the Philippines. In the novel's dedication, Rizal explains that there was once a type of cancer so terrible that the sufferer could not bear to be touched. That disease was called Noli Me Tangere, which means touch me not in Latin. He believed that the homeland was similarly afflicted. The novel offers both a panoramic view of the level of the society in the Philippines of the time and a droll satire. Its description of the cruelty of the Spanish rule was a catalyst for the revolutionary movement for independence in the country. Rizal was arrested and subjugated to a mock trial in Manila and was put to trial, and then he was found guilty and was executed. Seeing the current state of the Philippines, I wonder if it's all worth it. Fighting for the country, fighting for the freedom, because they realize that this fight has been going on for fucking hundreds of years. You know what I mean? Will it be over? I feel like it's never gonna be over. It's like an ongoing forever thing. And living in a first world country now, I feel like seeing the juxtaposition of how we live here and how they live there, it's fucked, you know what I mean? And I can only depict my emotions of how it is, because as I said, there's no conclusion into these stories.
Yeah. It's so weird, whenever I talk to family in the Philippines, it's almost as if we're just looking at each other, and then it's just when we see them, we we envy them, but at the same time, like we don't say anything to each other. It's like they have like the family unit, and like we have like this idea of like, oh, look at that, like they're in a different country, like they're much more prosperous than us, but like earning like you have to earn your dollars here, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And what's going on right now too, like they're not even letting nurses out of the country in the Philippines right now, like because of COVID. Like nurses in the Philippines are like literally banned from leaving the country and to work outside abroad because they need nurses there. And like first off, like nurses there are like underpaid, overworked, and it's just like there's no and they get paid like 60 pesos like for food. You know what I mean? Like they don't even have insurance. Like, and if they die, their family doesn't even get like, you know, have some sort of like severance package from dying, you know?
Yeah, 60 pesos is roughly
like
$2 here.
Yeah, roughly, no, not even. That's like $1.50.
$1.50.
Yeah.
That's a value meal at McDonald's.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know. I feel like this whole exhibition is just me screaming in the void, and it's just like, just that.
You know, like we gotta like speak however we like speak to whoever's listening, right? And it's amazing that you're using your creative voice, like using your human language, using colors, and like using this symbolism, right, to portray a message that's like way deeper and like way bigger than who you are right now. Like, if you were to go to the Philippines, you're pretty much like risking your life.
Yeah, pretty much, because like people who speak out against the government can be called a terrorist now in the Philippines, you know. Like this, if like I publish this in the Philippines, like they can just arrest me, which is just like fuck them.
That's like a cool collective would be like creative terrorists.
Creative terrorists.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'll have to like be part of that.
You may just have to copyright that.
Creative terrorists.
Yeah, that's really great. This one over here is a depiction of a goddess named Mayari. Mayari is the goddess of revolution and the goddess of moon. And like I've always wanted to like, you know, like as a kid, like growing in a Catholic church, I feel like when you like there are like certain saints that you like pray to, if like, you know, like patron saints of different things. And for me, like this is my patron saint of revolution, you know what I mean? And I feel like Philippines is like, you know, is still early stages for a revolution because a lot of people there are still indoctrinated.
Yep.
And a lot of people there still believes the lies that the government puts out. So I think it's like a long time coming before that happens. But here in North America though, it's a totally different like story. You know what I mean? People are ready. People want change, and it's only a matter of time before change happens.
At the end of the day, like, you know, it's either like we transform into them, like being focused in stocks, like being focused on like what makes us money, and like rather than like what is actually like a net positive for the world, right? Like if we transform to them, because like we're still like we're gonna be the adults. We are already adults, but we're gonna be like the ones who's like,
yeah,
like,
and that's why all of these like policies that these like fucking boomer politicians are putting, like they can put it just because they're not gonna live through it. They're gonna die, and like, you know, it's us, the younger generation, is gonna fucking inherit all of these problems. And it's like, it's either you fight it now or you fight it later.
what's amazing that like you're like you as an artist is like creating this already. Like there's been talks like maybe in the future, next 20 years, maybe next 5 years, like, you know, like if we figure out, like the biggest challenge that we have as a human race is just energy, right? Like being able to like power our houses, and like, because like if we have unlimited energy, we would probably just set up robots and like do everything for us.
Yeah.
Like,
Which would in turn, like, you know, lose people's job.
Yeah,
But you know, that's just like, I'm not anti-progress, you know what I mean? Like, that's what happens when the world, you know, keeps on going. Shit changes, but like at the end of the day, like, when robots, like, you know, take over jobs, it's just like a matter of time before, like, you know, those things get abused too.
Yeah, like if we were in like a society where like we have energy and it's abundant, and then we don't have to worry about it as much, it's not as scarce. Like I'm just thinking as like I'm thinking in a utopian way, right? Because like that's what I want for humanity, like not to have like challenges like in a way that's like
It's impossible.
crushing.
I feel like it's impossible just because like I feel like utopia can only happen in like small amount of people, and there's about 7 billion, 8 billion people in the world. So like I feel like in certain places that shit is impossible. That's why like at the end of the day, like we gotta like live through what's going on right now, and like, you know, be more realistic in terms of that. Like in Canada, in Alberta in general, like oil, like, you know, like oil is a big fucking controversial shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, energy consumption is like,
It's really weird, like it's a very touchy subject because like I'm not an expert myself per se, but like I just want to be like as informed as I can and like be ready when it does change, right?
yeah, when shit hits the fan.
When shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this piece. And
This piece over here is the depiction of a duende. In the Philippines, duendes are these like mischievous little gnome creatures that like you know, possesses people's houses. They're usually good, or they're usually bad. Like it's like you never know what duende you're gonna get. But like mostly some of them are really good and like gives you like you know, inspiration. Like there was once a story that says that like Picasso had a duende, and that's where he got all of his inspiration is from a duende. And like for me, it was kind of like, this is kind of like my depiction of a duende, where like it can give you like that inspiration and that creative energy in your house.
lovely.
Or it could be a bad duende and it just fucking murders you.
That's true. This one right here.
This one right here is a tribute to Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain was how old is he? He was 23 years old. He was from Colorado, and he used to play violence in like foster cats, and you know what's going on right now in North America. I feel like this story really struck out to me because being, you know, as a person who's really weird, I was like, you know, as a person who also wears ski masks just for fun, you know what I mean? And like this really resonated with me that like, you know, something like that can get you killed. You know, being a black person in America and in Canada is like, you know, a very hard experience, and like I feel like I feel like, you know, amplifying black voices and amplifying black stories are really important, especially with what's going on right now. But yeah, this is a kind of a tribute for me, for him. What happened to him after he got when the police called. There's somebody who called the cops on him because he was wearing a ski mask and like supposedly look like he looked very you know, menacing. But you know, that's what they say to every fucking black person walking, you know what I mean? Always menacing, which is like fucked up. But then so somebody called the cops and then like looked for him, and then they got him, and then they started to like arrest him, and then he was just like, they didn't know what was going on. And in return, the cops I think the paramedics gave him like a high dose of ketamine, which like ultimately like killed him a couple of days later. And like to this day, the cops that killed him are still out there, you know. And they actually, what's fucked up is like after the death of Elijah McClain, they posted a story or like a photo of them like depicting them strangling somebody.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, as a fucking joke. And like you realize that these people are ruthless. These people are like, you know, they don't have compassion.
Yeah.
Like, they will. It's fucked up because all of these things that have no conclusion. You know what I mean? It's still an ongoing story. Yeah.
Wow. Do you know like that story about Pangea, or like that theory that everybody came from Africa?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like from my understanding, like, are we just like a mutation with our melanin, and then, you know?
And it's mostly because of like scientifically, like I know for a fact that, like, you know, like the difference between our skin tone and skin colors all came from the environment that we're living in. You know what I mean? And it's just like there's no fucking base towards like all these like eugenics bullshit. You know what I mean? Because like in the before World War II, there was a big movement that came from Europe called eugenics, which is like this like scientific explanation of why white people are superior. You know what I mean? And like that was a whole ordeal that kind of started like fucking fascism in Germany, and like in turn they believed that shit, and then, you know, in turn fucking exterminated a lot of people who didn't look like them.
What's crazy, like I'm seeing, like, funny that you brought up like the fascism in Germany. Like, what's happening with China right now? Like, they actually passed like the death toll,
Yeah.
like, of the Jews.
The Uyghur Muslims in Western China is like, yeah, like that's exactly what's going on right now. And I feel like that's why it's important as an artist to, like, you know, give like light to these things, because like we're living in a fucking scary time, just like we were living in World War II, and like it's now we have the capabilities to like fucking destroy each other, and like you know, to like decimate countries, you know what I mean? And like now it's scarier than ever, because like some people are ruthless like that, and then they would, like, you know, do that for the sake of like whatever fucking shit they
You know what's crazy? Like, the timing of COVID was
perfectly timed.
perfectly timed.
That's why,
Like,
you know,
it's like that. It's like it gives me goosebumps. Like, before COVID started, like before all of that like took over the news, there was like a bunch of protests around the world, like in Portugal, Italy, and like Belarus,
in
Hong Kong.
you know.
And then like now we're not allowed to like be in protest.
Now you're not allowed to protest, which is just like, it's convenient for like the government to like suddenly have this, but like, you know, that's a different like you know, whole story. Like,
Yeah.
Like I do believe that COVID is real.
Yeah.
It's out here, but it's like it's getting like like numbers are hyper inflated. You know, like they're using it as it's been politicized so much that, like, you know, you don't even know what is real anymore.
Yeah, like, to be honest, I would rather not like talk about like if COVID is real or not. Like, but the timing of it is just like.
Because like at the end of the day, with Black Lives Matter too, it's been politicized. You can be conservative and be for Black lives. You can be Republican and be pro Black lives. It's not a political thing. It's a human thing. But you know, like everything, like today has been politicized, just like everything else. Yeah, people can reach me at HarveyisDead on Instagram, and most of my works are up in there. And also, I am always open for commission works, and also some of these paintings are still for sale. So, you know, this piece over there for sale. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you.
Like, you know, you can find me downtown Calgary, roaming around, just, you know, in the hoodlum.
Can people say hi to you, or like, are you like?
No,
Yeah.
don't say hi to me. I'm joking. Go say hi to me. Be like, yo, wagwan. Yeah.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, man.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harvey.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you letting me do this. Like you know, like I really had like an amazing conversation with you today, and I hope to see more of your works. Like if not here, like maybe like throughout Canada, like being a display, like you know, like your voice that needs to be heard, like especially with that one post where like Filipinos are like a minority that's not oppressed enough or something like that.
Yeah.
You posted something like that. Like
Yeah, it's funny because like I saw this post where like a Filipino woman was trying to like kind of do the same thing, or like trying to talk about more of her culture as a Filipino American woman. But then the gallery says that like they're only looking for like, you know, like communities that are more oppressed, which is just like that whole tokenism bullshit. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like they just want it because they want to show their liberal friends how liberal they are, you know?
how progressive they
How
are.
progressive they are. Like,
Yeah, it's always that air of like elitism and like being like, oh, I'm better than you.
yeah, because I care about these things.
Yeah.
It's like it's fucked, and like now you have to pick and choose which one you care about.